Okay, so I wanted to cover a topic today that I've been seeing in blogospheres and amongst YouTube, but before was really confused by it. Didn't make sense to me, but now after the recent months talking to my boyfriend and hearing from credible sources on their theories of why we won't actually have an election this November in 2016 and what may be happening behind the scenes. Let's talk about this. So I'm not sure if many of you know who Baba Vanga is, but she's this incredible woman, I believe from Russia, who has many prophecies about the future, and many people started to take note after she prophesied the sinking of the Kursk submarine, but she had also prophesied events like 9/11, and her most recent prophecy is stating that the 44th president of America would be black, which came to be true, but that he would also bring about crisis and be the last president for America because we would fall into a martial law status. So with that being said, I wanted to talk about some other things that I saw that helped connect the dots to making me think that this theory is actually plausible and could be happening behind the scenes right now without us even knowing. So with this topic, we kind of want to make sure we're paying attention to everything going on globally and not paying attention to just one leader or one country, one nation. We want to see what's going on globally because that really helps to broaden the picture and make it so we're able to see little moves that add up to bigger ones. So take for example this Brexit, which is actually like an incredibly good thing for Britain. However, when you take into the scheme of things what's probably being done behind the scenes, it does come off a little bit of dismantling the EU. And then when you start to think about that, it seems that they're doing the same here in America. And then when you go even broader, I can only imagine they're doing the same things in Russia and China. I mean, there are things that we can see, you know, how Russia and China are invading and trying to snuff out ISIS, meanwhile, while America is funding it. Obviously, we're heading towards a collapse of power. And I think what is being orchestrated is all major nations are being eroded from the inside out. I think we're having all of this tension and all of these false flags and all of this crisis in order to divide us and make us feel scared and make us feel like we need to look to someone bigger than just our president to help save us from the inside. And that's where many people think that the UN is actually going to step in and be the leader of the world with, here in America, FEMA camps, ordering people into groups. That's the scariest sounding part because that's just reminiscent of Nazi Germany. So we need to start thinking, what do we, the people, think about a scenario like that? Because when it does come time where there's a global disaster or maybe a terrorist threat, false flag it may be, or even if it's environmental, earthquakes, tsunamis, all that, the moment something like that happens and we can no longer look at just our government to fix it, it needs to go broader, we the people are going to buy into the idea that the UN would be our saving grace, when really that is the only way they can force us into a one government world. I mean, if every nation no longer trusts their government, which might easily happen with Putin now giving out a press release saying that America has until September 11th of this year to release the fact that it was an inside job before he will. So with threats like that, he's obviously forcing the leaders of America into a corner saying, make a choice or I'll choose for you. And then America is doing that as well. If you take into consideration the fact that it is proven that ISIS and ISIL have been funded by the American government, or look up YouTube videos where Obama has slipped up his words and said that he is in fact helping to speed up the process of forming Sunni rebellion troops to help support ISIL by means of financial and weaponry backing. So we have proof like that, even if it's slip-ups. You know, we do have that proof, and we do have to kind of reach for the little sparks of hope and truth that fall out of here, because honestly, that is what this is about. We're in the phase right now where the people thinking about the future of humanity are really trying to pay attention to the small details to put together this puzzle. Everything is just a piece. You might think you have one thing figured out, and maybe you do, whether it's figuring out false flags are real, or whether it's figuring out that our democracy here in America is a sham and votes don't count for anything. Whenever you figure something out, you only have a piece. It's not the whole picture. The whole picture is global. The whole picture is your mind. The whole picture is the fact that we need to be aware that PSYOPs projects are being experimented on us, the people, all the time. All the time. All this stuff with CERN and the Mandela effect, it's all PSYOPs. It's all mindfuckery. And no matter what you believe, even if you believe in the parallel universe, even if you believe in the elite opening up the gates of hell for CERN to be unleashed, like anything you may believe, I'm not doubting you, because I do think these are all possibilities, but it's one piece of a broad puzzle. And what we need to figure out is, why is it not okay for the people of the world to communicate with each other, to form a message and say, hey, we no longer believe in following your leadership, we would like to go a different way? How come throughout humanity, throughout our history, it has always been that the people do not have the voice? The power has the voice. Why do we allow that? We need to make it so that we, the people, no longer seek counsel or guidance in a leader, a government, a dictator. We don't need that. I mean, leaders are better than presidents because at least a leader is in the mud with you. So there are differences and a hierarchy amongst leaders of our past. However, all I'm saying is maybe we need to go smaller. Maybe we need to go more local, because maybe humanity isn't ready to have a broadened form of guidance, I guess I would say, because then you fall into all of those power struggles. You get people with their big egos not able to concentrate on the goal of the people, but more worried about individual goals. And that's really where this problem stems from. It's ego-based. So until you're able to control your ego and your emotion, and even when you get angry about an external situation, be able to rationalize it in your head and say, I would like to remove myself from this. Even if you're in a place of complete torture in your mind, where you're just like, I cannot survive and live in this situation, whatever it may be, any situation you're in, the moment you can clear your mind and take those breaths and really relax your inner thoughts and be like, I don't have to contribute to this chaos. I can pull myself out of it and I'll be okay. That's really the most power any of us have, because all we can really control is ourselves. We can't have control over others. We can try for it, but as we've seen in our past, it only leads to chaos and fear and war. And that's the opposite of what we're here on this plane to do, for real. So when we look at the people of the world and then the governments that are governing over them, what do we tend to see that is a connection amongst all of them? It's the fact that the people are being placed in fear, in a constant state of fear, by their government. Why would a government want to do that? Here in America, we have a democracy. Democracy stands for when the people control the government, usually through elected officials. And those elected officials, who were elected by the people, are supposed to represent the people's voice. That's how a democracy is supposed to work. However, it seems to me that us here in America, along with the rest of the world, seem to be falling more under fascism, which is actually governments aligning with corporations, and corporations having more of a voice than the people. Doesn't that just seem like where America has been heading for quite some time? Another interesting fact that I discovered upon researching this topic is that all the while America has been funding and militarizing this ISIL and ISIL group of fanatics, and then with Ben Carson being one of the more notable people to speak out and say there will probably not be an election in November of 2016 because chaos is being incited in order to enact martial law here in America, but I'm sure globally. But all the while that is happening and the funding and the weapons are headed there, here in America, our leader is trying to push to disarm its citizens. All Americans being directed in an idea that the Second Amendment of the Constitution is no longer needed, which, if there ever was a time, let me tell you, it is now. Right to bear arms. I mean, the people have every right to own a gun as long as the people enforcing laws own guns. I mean, until our military and until our police put down their guns, I do not advise the people of this country to do the same. Like, you do not give up the only defense you have against a militia. I mean, this is silly. We're being backed into a corner where we're meant to believe that if we give up our guns, we're going to be safer, when really you look at countries that have bans on guns, or you look at cities like Chicago that have bans on guns, where they are prohibited, and yet those are the most dangerous places for common people. Because, yeah, maybe mass shootings aren't happening there, but in my opinion, those are often done or contributed to by our own government. But the crime rate is actually higher. The crimes using blunt objects, knives, bats, bottles, broken glass, stuff like that, breaking and entering, robberies, assaults, rapes, all of that, higher. So if you want to walk down the street and wonder if you're going to get attacked today, then yes, by all means, buy into what you're being told. However, there is a beauty to the fact that Freemasons founded this country, and they were able to think centuries ahead of their time that governments will try to take the rights of the people. We need to wake up to that fact. Just because you went to 3rd grade and you were told white people are amazing and did everything great doesn't make it factual. Our history books have been whitewashed. They come from Texas, for crying out loud. And all of this is kind of showing me along this journey of falling down this rabbit hole, which I'm fucking sick and dizzy. Does it end? Does it end? This rabbit hole is deep. Neo, Matrix, you didn't warn us enough. But seriously, when you're falling down this rabbit hole, as I've been talking to my boyfriend, everything we're being told to believe in that's truth and virtuous and good for us is just the opposite. It's lies, it's scary, it's fear, it's war, and it's hatred. That's what we're being sold. And then everything you're told to hate or vilify is actually our only ray of true hope. I mean, seriously, look at any celebrity, look at any event, and take the true story. That's exactly opposite of what happened. I mean, for real. And it's sad that we have to take into consideration that if you follow the money, whoever it rains on is garnering the most power from the situation, therefore making them the most culpable, and yet we never question their actions because we're scared to, because we're in a perpetual state of fear, because they're the authority figure, they're the money, the power. And we don't represent anything. We're just humble old me who needs to go to our 9-to-5s, our 40 hours, put in our wage labor slave workload in order to pay for their yachts and their cruises and their flights to poison us. I mean, that's really the lunacy that's going on right now, and it's being able to immerse yourself in that and not drown, because it's really overwhelming when you start to realize what truly is going around globally. It's sick. We're living in a sick world, and we need to heal it. Simple as that. But when you take into consideration all that you're being sold is actually bad, think about what is the UN. Think about what the TPP truly is. Think about what these mass shootings are representing. I just did a false flag and crisis actor video yesterday. Think about what you're being sold. You are being pushed into a perpetual state of fear, whether you like to think so or not. Every morning you wake up, when's the last time you had a stress-free day, where you didn't turn on the news and see something negative, or you didn't turn on social media and there weren't arguments and fights over racial issues, or sexual orientation, or mass shootings, or sit-ins? I mean, they're pushing us into a state where we can no longer feel relaxed. It's root chakra shit. It's really bad for us, and humanity is not supposed to live in this survival fear mode. So what do we really do from here? We just keep talking. I think, in my opinion, we keep the communication lines open. We allow all information to come in, and we're able to assert judgment onto what we believe is just too off base versus what we feel actually is resonating with us on the inside, and we're trying to to fight because our ego is on defense mode. I mean, that's really what it is. You need to decipher what is true information that is hurting you because it's true, and that truth is challenging your safety and security of the life and reality you knew. Or is this on the flip just psyops? Is it maybe the government or people being brainwashed working against you? Is it stuff that if you do truly try to believe, you will be taken way off path? Like, there are people out there lying to you constantly. So I'm not saying believe all lies because lies are truth. I'm saying be able to decipher. Be able to start taking in information and letting it sit and resonate and be like, I don't agree with that, and I have every right to say no. I was just watching a Mark Passio video where he was like, the most powerful word in human language is no. Because you have every right to say it. Every right. That is your right to say no. I am uncomfortable with what is happening. How many times have you watched a situation unfold where you were uncomfortable, but you didn't do anything? If you would just stand up and say no, you wouldn't feel uncomfortable. I mean, you're going to be challenged, don't get me wrong, and it's scary, but that's what facing the truth is. And that's what we as Americans, or scratch that, we as humans need to start doing. We need to take care of each other. Take care of the person who can't have a voice right now, the little guy. Make sure they're okay. Make sure we realize that we're contributing to the chaos when we don't do anything. I just wanted to challenge people's ideas. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but I do think this is a fascinating topic. Do you think there's any plausibility or possibility we wouldn't have an election in November of 2016? Are you buying into it's going to be a Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump election? Or are you thinking more rationally where you're like, Barack Hussein Obama has signed in so many executive orders that completely diminish the Constitution. Weirdly enough, he's a constitutional law major, so he knows what he's doing. Would he have done that to give power over to Trump? What do you think? I mean, is this something that we might be dealing with an Obama 2016 presidency? Are we ready to humbly accept dictatorship here in America? I mean, don't try to pull out FDR. That was different, and it was a different time. We have a lot more knowledge, a lot more information of what our government truly is about and does, and we have the internet. So don't fall into that whole, oh, we trust our leader, it's happened before here in America, because it is something that should be challenged. It's scary. And then it's also scary when you find out that Barack Obama also has accepted head of the UN, which is completely unconstitutional. And the moment he accepted another title outside of being president of the United States, he completely voided his presidency. Hear the words I just said. Barack Obama is a constitutional law major, so he says. I mean, we don't have any of his records or schooling, so it's just a guess. But if you believe that, why in the world would somebody who studied constitutional law go against Constitution? Why would you accept title of leader of the UN, which makes you leader of the fucking world, when you know that jeopardizes your presidency? What's going on? Something's weird. Something's super weird. So take this into consideration. Let the information fall into your brain and resonate however it will. If you choose to not believe it, that is fair. At least challenge it. Try to give me something. Put comments in the video. But if this is something you are believing, or maybe you know more information than even I gave, please contribute to comments. I want to learn more. I think it's fascinating. And I'm not telling anyone what to believe. I'm just challenging beliefs. And we all need to do that, because that's how we move forward. So take care of yourself for the rest of the day. Get out and enjoy the sun. Stress-free, I'm telling you. Don't fear all of this information. Just know it, okay? Take care of yourself. Peace out.